The last couple of years for this slot, I've concentrated on looking at piracy in the Gulf of Guinea, particularly Nigeria. But what I thought that I would do this time is just spend 1 or 2 minutes reminding you about a number of the troubled areas of the world. Those are the aspects that I'm going to cover. First of all, then, for those of you that are not so familiar with it, here's 2 charts showing the Hellenics additional premium areas. The Hellenics AP areas differ slightly from the Joint War Committee listed areas. Essentially 3 main areas: Africa, including the Indian Ocean, the Middle East, and Venezuela. The types of war risks that we see in Venezuela are more to do with detention and confiscation, which can be war risks, rather than, let's say, traditional war risks. Starting then with the Gulf of Guinea and Nigeria, hijackings and abductions continue. IMB reports 5 incidents in the first 6 months of this year and 31 sailors abducted. Underreporting continues to be an issue, particularly in the Gulf of Guinea. Not all the incidents are reported to the IMB or make the international shipping press. More recently, there was an incident early in August, 5 crew members abducted, and then again around about the middle of September, another incident, and again 5 seafarers abducted. The association continues to experience claims in this area, 2 in the last 12 months. Both cases involve the kidnapping of 3 seafarers. Learning points, a couple of points I mention here. First is that obtaining large amounts of the local currency, naira, outside Lagos to pay the ransom is quite difficult. If you're looking to do the handover in the Niger Delta, trying to get that cash in local towns and cities there, we had experience of a local bank in Warri letting us down. Our man turned up at the bank, we'd been promised the cash, they said no. So you need to plan that it may take time to get that cash in order to be able to do the handover of the cash and the seamen released. The other thing over the last couple of years is that in addition to the cash ransom demand, the pirates now customarily request high specification IT kit as well. Hewlett-Packard laptops, iPads, iPhones, Samsung Galaxy smartphones, 20 of each. And getting that sort of high-spec kit in Nigeria is difficult as well. And so the IT kit needs to be negotiated as well. They ask for 20. What do we think we can get? Maybe 10. You can't just go into Media Mart and get 20 Hewlett-Packard top-end laptops. So again, that needs to be built into the schedule as to what you can do, what you agree with the pirates, and when you do the handover. Somalia, Yemen, Bab el-Mandeb, then I think if I'd done this talk 4 or 5 months ago, I might have taken a bit of a different slant on it, because Somalia had this spike in activity around about March, April time. Started with the ship that I'm showing there, the Aris 13. She was taken on the 13th of March. Small tanker, low freeboard, slow, close into the coast, asking for trouble maybe. So she was hijacked, released after a few days, and then they followed on. A few fishing boats were taken, some dhows taken, and there was a bit of a worry that the activity in Somalia was picking up again. But at the moment, seems to be quieter again. Maybe not so on the other side of the el-Mandeb Strait. UK MTO issued some notices on the 1st and 2nd of July, superseded them with a notice on the 1st of July, and that included this map of the area. The bit that's shaded yellow, that's off the west coast of Yemen then. There's been activity there aimed by the Houthi rebels against the Saudi coalition forces. There was an attack against a Saudi frigate, attack against an oil terminal, and mines recovered off Mocha. The risk there is more one of misidentification. The rebels misidentifying the ship passing through as being involved with the Saudi forces. And then the two areas to the south and east coast of Yemen, there have been attacks there on merchant ships passing through the area. The numbers 1 and 2 that I identify there, that was the attacks on the Galatia Spirit and the Muskie, one of which involved a skiff exploding close to the ship's hull. Fortunately, no ship damage, no crew injuries, but it certainly appeared to be the intent to damage the ship's hull. Also reports of remotely piloted craft attacks in and around Mocha. More recently, the combined maritime forces have established a maritime security transit corridor. Showing it here, it consists of the internationally recognized transit corridor, and then the two separation schemes, the one in the el-Mandeb Strait and the other that's to the west of the Hanish Islands, and then a two-way route connecting the two. The intention, as with the internationally recognized transit corridor, is for the naval forces to be able to concentrate their activities in certain areas. Asia and the Sulu Sea, well, positive news here, I think. Year-to-date incidents are down on 2016, but there have been incidents and there have been abductions and several deaths. 6th of September, so quite recently, we saw the second hijack for cargo theft this year. And I can't remember when the previous one was, but we're going back at least a couple of years, 2015 or possibly before, since the last cargo theft. Fortunately, though, the pirates tend to attack smaller local trading coasters. Bigger tankers that are transiting the area have not been threatened. Regional cooperation in Southeast Asia is good. Patrols have increased, and that has certainly had an effect on keeping the numbers down. What I would mention about Southeast Asia, though, is that armed robbery is common in a lot of the ports there. 4 incidents alone in August 2017. The ships are usually alongside or at anchor, but sometimes we see ships even being attacked whilst they're underway. The circumstances are frequently similar. Tends to be 4 to 6 guys. They board in the early hours of the morning, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, from the stern or the port or the starboard quarter. They make their way to the engine room. If there's a duty engineer, he will be overpowered, and they take what they can carry: spare parts, tools, stores. But 4 to 6 guys, 2 or 3 trips to the engine room, they can take $40,000 or $50,000 worth of kit. I've just borrowed this chart from the recap review of July 2017. It just identifies the incidents so far this year in the Sulu Sea. The small red dots are actual incidents that involved abductions of seafarers. In these 3 cases, fairly small local traffic, but the green triangles are bigger ships and their attempted incidents, bigger ships that were transiting the area. What I would say, though, is don't think that it's only these well-known trouble spots where the incidents happen. I've just picked one other area at random here. This is off Mauritania, early August this year. Ship was 30 miles off, approached by a small craft, holding itself out to be the Mauritanian Navy. Asked the ship to stop. They wanted to board. Master was suspicious, increased speed, took evasive maneuvers. Fortunately, ship and crew safe. You need to be vigilant everywhere. And then, well, a presentation wouldn't be a presentation without a small section on cyber risks these days. I've picked something that's rather obscure. Last bullet point there is the guidelines on cybersecurity on board ship. Version 2 came out recently. It's put together by a number of industry bodies, but led by BIMCO. The last section of those guidelines deals with insurance, and it mentions exclusion clauses. The first slide here, the Institute Cyber Attack Exclusion Clause, CL380, widely used in hull and machinery policies and market war risk policies. If you notice there, clause 1.1, I've highlighted what is excluded. So quite a wide exclusion clause there. Compare it with the much narrower exclusion clause which the Hellenic uses. Ours is really just a computer virus exclusion clause. And the other point that I would note is in italics at the top there. With the Hellenic, there's $100 million in the aggregate cover, even before that more limited exclusion clause bites. There must be an operable war peril for there to be a claim, but there is some cover there for war-related cyber risks.